I believe that investing is simple. It's understanding the Overton window, where an idea, a product, or a plan becomes completely unthinkable, irrational, and unimaginable. But it shifts towards becoming acceptable, becoming sensible, becoming a generally understood policy. And as it shifts from that side of the unthinkable and the irrational, it moves into the mainstream. You can see from 2010, all of the major founders of the Mag 7 companies have always had, from the beginning of their time in building these products that have changed and transformed our lives, completely unimaginable reactions from the majority of people until it's too late and you are using their products and they're everywhere. Nvidia, the gaming chip maker, through Jensen Huang's famous interview, stated that they would compete with Intel, the Goliath of the CPU sector at the time. Jensen knew it was time to combine the CPU technology with the graphics processing units to capture the visual frames. The EPS went from a measly 0.01 in 2010 to 2.94 in 2025 annualized. It returned over 63,000 in that time. These examples can be reeled off one by one, and the next is Amazon. The internet bookseller sensation had an EPS of 0.13 with no real excitement in the horizons, but hindsight proves that thinking this way was a mistake, as the EPS grew to over 5.53 as it started to dominate the cloud computing and internet marketplace. The stock returned 5,100% since 2010. Along that list of alumni is Google, the search engine powerhouse that coded from humble beginnings with an EPS of 0.66 before dominating search and combining its use of Gemini and website-based retrieval of information. It shot up to 8.04, a stock increase of over 1,400%. Microsoft started with Bill Gates. This office space and him designing the software for the emerging internet sector, with an EPS of 2.13 in 2010 to now well over 11, as they dominated the software for all computing. The stock has risen since 2010 over 2,240%. Then we have Apple, founded by Steve Jobs, considered a nut job, an overly demanding individual who caused burnout amongst his workforce. With an EPS of 0.32 in 2009, after just ramping up the production of the iPhone, it went on a rally towards well over $6, with a share price accrual of over 3,500%. You can't leave Zuckerberg off this list, who's just recently proved with the Meta revenue that their ad sales through their businesses, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, they're only getting stronger. He was able to use the inspiration from Harvard alumni, the Winklevoss twins, and through burning this relationship, he transformed the way we communicate and interact, taking an EPS of 0.23 to well over $24. This is a stock accrual of 3,800%. As you can see, with each of these founders, they started at the extreme side of the Overton window, and they moved their products from the unimaginable to the generally accepted, to the most loved and desired products on the market. I believe that SpaceX, XAI, Tesla, Boring Company, the Neuralink company, that are all founded and operated by Elon Musk, are an economy of companies that will disrupt all of the major companies within the S&P 500, including Google, Meta, Amazon, Nvidia, and also Microsoft. And so in this video, I just want to go through some of the potential disruptions that could come from Elon Musk's companies and how they might impact these specific names. This data comes from one of my favorite analysts, Cern Basher, who's able to just break down extremely profound concepts and keep them simple and visual. And I just want to reflect on the specific products that I believe could be disrupted tangibly over the next 5 years by SpaceX, XAI, Boring Company, Neuralink, and also Tesla. So if you are interested in specifically Tesla, if you're interested in the Overton window going from the unimaginable to the everyday accessible, then like, comment, subscribe, and let's get straight into it. I believe that Elon's companies can disrupt fragments of Amazon's business models. They won't be able to take the complete market, but they'll be able to start to disrupt areas of their business lines. So you've got X, you've got XAI, you've got Tesla, you've got SpaceX, and these four companies in particular can really start to streamline through SpaceX's low latency satellites. There's thousands of them orbiting at a lower level in the atmosphere to other satellite providers, which means that they're able to provide high-speed internet connectivity. You've got the X and the XAI data center Colossus with 200,000 GPUs, which can start to optimize AI algorithm personalized shopping experiences. And then you have Tesla's brand loyalty. So when I look at this specific data, the online store could be disrupted through Tesla, X, and XAI, integrating advanced AI-driven shopping experiences, leveraging Tesla's brand loyalty to provide exclusive products for X users. As this app starts to grow and the adoption of this app starts to grow, there's going to be a way of channeling the shopping experiences through this app. And I just feel like this is going to be extremely disruptive when you start to bring all of this into a car experiences with the Tesla, where you are using a Tesla, you're operating your day autonomously in the robotaxi network. It starts to provide opportunities to personalize the shopping experiences, which could massively disrupt the online store of Amazon. With the AWS in particular, I think that it's just the fact that Tesla's vehicle fleet can start to distribute AI computing. And as you have a fleet of cars constantly autonomously driving around, that distributed computer, the AI4, AI5, and AI6 computer that's going to be in all of these cars, can be used as a decentralized distributed network. This allows scalability, this allows decentralized AI solutions, and it challenges AWS's dominance in this cloud computing industry. So as Tesla's robotaxi network starts to expand and grow, I believe that that could directly just disrupt the AWS aspect of Amazon, which is one of their biggest business models. These are not certainties, but these are just things that I consider, things that I think about as I start to believe in the future that Elon Musk's companies are starting to build. And I also start to back the individual that I believe works extremely tirelessly to create innovative products that can change our lives and improve our lives. This brings me on to the next company that the Muskonomy could start to disrupt. And it's Google's cloud computing, just like AWS cloud computing for Amazon. You've got the ability for the robo-taxis, the Model Ys that Tesla are building and scaling with AI4 computers built by Samsung and TSMC, and the AI5 and the AI6 that they're going to continue to innovate and iterate. This is going to lead to the opportunity to have distributed AI network computing, a decentralized group of nodes that are the cars, autonomously driving around, sharing compute. I believe that would lead to the disruption of Google's cloud provider. But there's going to be so much market share that this isn't going to fully disrupt this company, but it's just going to lead to a fragment of Google's big business being taken away. And then when you look at the Google search, you have Tesla, again, the adoption of their robo-taxis as people use their cars more often. They're going to start to personalize the advertisements in the screens in the robo-taxi network. You have X, which is a growing app for news and information. And then you have XAI, which is just the algorithm, the AI agents that can optimize and personalize what you need. And the language learning model that's so sophisticated with Grok 4, where you're able to use that, and I use that now in order to gather my information and really compare sources. And it's one of the most reliable tools for me. And I don't use Google search as much anymore. This does not mean that Google are going to drop off a cliff and no longer exist. They're going to continue to innovate. They've got so much cash. They can continue to invest their CapEx and grow and compete at a scale that Tesla can. But it's just the companies that Musk has been able to build have taken decades of R&D, research and development. They've taken years of CapEx expenditure that have gone just straight into creating the data center clusters in order to compete in this AI revolution that we're about to enter. So I feel like Google, who haven't really been able to keep up with the cluster network of Cortex and Colossus, could start to feel that threat as people start to use language learning models in order to search for information rather than their dominant service, which was the search engine. This one is very difficult to execute on, but I do believe that Elon's companies could start to disrupt Nvidia and start to take away some of the market share. As Tesla are one of the biggest customers for Nvidia. XAI are one of the biggest customers for Nvidia as they take their H100 GPUs to build their own data centers. I feel that SpaceX's ability to leverage connectivity, Tesla's energy solutions through their megapacks could challenge Nvidia's dominance by offering a scalable, efficient AI compute platform using their Colossus and Cortex as they start to develop these data centers, could start to disrupt the data centers that Nvidia supplies. But also the chips that Nvidia have designed, when you compare that to Dojo 1 and Dojo 2, which are specific AI chips that Tesla have built in order to optimize for fully self-driving, collecting real data from the road, and then also combining that with the synthetic data that can create more parameters to be able to train the software to become even more sophisticated. Therefore, I do not believe that Nvidia is going to be completely disrupted at all, but I believe that the Musk economy is going to start to take away some of the market share, especially with automotive. When you think about Tesla's robo-taxis integrated with Grok, XAI, the ability to have a sophisticated smart car drive you around is going to be something like the transformation of the flip phone into the smartphone. You're just not going to want a car that can't talk to you. You're not going to want a car that can't drive itself, which gives you that time back. I believe that Elon's companies could disrupt Meta. But firstly, really showing Meta the appreciation that it deserves, it's using its free cash flow in order to fund its highly challenged compensation packages for AI computing individuals and professionals. It's actually using its free cash flow in order to fund that capex, in order to fund that research and development to stay competitive. So they're always going to be a major competition for any company in the Mag 7. But when you think about Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, X and XAI, with their sophisticated algorithms and their sophisticated AI inference compute, could start to challenge all of these services. You think about the growing adoption of X as people start to use that as their number one source for information. This could start to impact the advertising aspects of Meta's revenue, slowly disrupting this business line and this model and this services as a subscription company. You think about the reality labs could be disrupted by the advanced AI models like Grok, using X's platform to create highly interactive AI-driven AR, VR experiences, which is the ability to augment reality. And I believe that with the sophistication of Grok 4 and then Grok 5 and Grok 6 and the iterations continuing to improve, this is going to impact the ability to code and create augmented reality at a faster rate. And the best AI is going to be the one that's going to scale and execute first, potentially disrupting Meta's business models going forward. Apple is the most vulnerable company in the Mag 7. And ever since Steve Jobs stepped down as the founder and the CEO of Apple and sadly passed away, Tim Cook hasn't been able to really show the innovation and the enterprise that was once a part of Apple's business and economy. The iPhone changes color, the iPhone changes a camera, the location and position of a specific button that has a useful function to take pictures, but doesn't show the innovation that's required to capture the future that is going to be the AI revolution. So when I think about Apple, I think about how their payments, their cloud computing, their music, their TV, their app store, their fitness app could all be disrupted by, again, the ability for XAI to optimize using X, the everything app, which can be for payments, which can be for health, which can be for messaging, which can be for storing your compute, which can be used for storing your data, for storing all of the information that you want to hold, and then also start to personalize music that you curate using this app as it starts to become heavily adopted. This information and the visuals provided by Cern Basher, which have been helpful for me to be able to understand how Musk's economy could potentially disrupt some of these big companies. I don't see this as an investment decision. I see this as just as I interact differently with the world and as my allocation of energy and time goes towards specific use cases, I start to see the value in the companies that Musk is building. The ability to use the Boring Company to tunnel 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional transportation maps where you can actually travel underground and not just on the surface. Neuralink gives the ability for people to be able to interact and interface, and through sad situations where you lose a limb, you're able to regain control through having the ability to control a prosthetic limb using the Neuralink implant. And then you've got X and XAI and their data center cluster, the ability to scale and to continue to grow the GPUs and the Dojo 2 and the AI 5 and the AI 6. And all of this compute just creates a more sophisticated agentic hardware stack where you can have robotaxis, you can have humanoid robots. And again, this is just how I look at the world. I look at Tesla as a car that's just more futuristic, and it's the transformation from the flip phone to the smartphone. So all of this for me is relevant, and it's how I start to look at the changes that are happening within big companies that have dominated for many decades, many years. And I just like to be ahead of the curve. And I feel Tesla, XAI, X, the Boring Company, SpaceX with its low latency satellites, thousands that orbit at such a lower level to other satellites so they can provide that speed and interconnectivity and can provide that interconnectivity is just the direction I feel the world's going in. It's why Musk is one of the most hated individuals, because he is so dangerous to the profit and the market share that a lot of these companies currently monopolize. And so there's a lot of vested interests into trying to suppress these companies from being able to really take off, I believe. So that's how I believe it could be relevant. I feel that it's interesting to be aware of just how all of these smaller companies could actually have a massive impact on the future and could start to become big companies in themselves. So I hope you got some value from this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.